So we're going to open the lines. You are welcome to call in and to give your suggestions, your comments, to ask your questions. One thing that we ask is that you be respectful in doing so. Okay, there is no caller on the line at the moment, Mr. James, so I'm going to ask you to, if there are any new or existing projects at the Department of Agriculture.
We have just, in the last year or so, completed the CARICOM Nutrition Project. Presently, we do not yet have a new similar type of project on stream, but what we're doing is trying to be a lot more efficient with our normal program, our normal day-to-day program. We do have a lot of small snippets. For example, right now we have a program which we call the Farmer Field School program. This is a new extension type of activity. Extension meaning farmers outreach, meaning how you teach, how you relay information to the farmers. Different researchers have different types of suggestions. In recent times, there were things like what you call the commodity approach, where you would have a group of experts, let's put that in inverted commas, expert in a particular field, like say onion production. So you have 4 or 5 persons who are good at onion production. They will form a core team and they will go out there and they will teach farmers how to produce onion. That's one approach.
We have a call, Mr. James. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thanks a lot, Mr. James, for your informative approach to agriculture. I know that you have a lot of experience in this thing.
Thank you.
I know that you coined the phrase extension. I didn't hear extension officers. But what is their role as far as householders are concerned? I know that there's a liaison between extension officers and farmers. What role can they play with householders who want to initiate backyard gardens? And I know before the Prime Minister became Prime Minister, one of the roles that he was pursuing was the propagation of the breadfruit and bread nut as a staple. Has that been abandoned as a project? I'm loaded. I'm going to leave it there. But what is the role of the extension officers as far as householders are concerned with their assisting with advice? And the last one I asked was the breadfruit and the bread nut as staples, and how can that project be continued and sustained?
Thank you, caller. Thanks for your input. If you would allow me this way, I would want to begin with your second question first, and then I'll come to the other one. The breadfruit and the bread nut, it has, up to last year, I don't know if you recall, that there was very heavy emphasis on the breadfruit and the bread nut. We gave it national prominence. There were several workshops held, and in fact, the restaurant week in last year focused on the breadfruit and the bread nut. We at the Department of Agriculture normally, before last year, on average, in a year would sell about 7, far less than 10 breadfruit trees. Last year we were able to sell nearly 300%, well over 300%. I'm sorry I didn't bring the data. We sold quite a lot because of how we were able to promote that fruit. And as I said, we used it a lot through Restaurant Week. You would recall that the focus was on it. Although this year the focus is different because every year we change the focus. So this year the focus is on pumpkin, but we are no less interested in developing the breadfruit and the bread nut. We'd already spoken about the health benefits. We'd already spoken about the different products that can be made from them. I would like you to know that we brought in some new equipment, and the equipment is at the agro-processing unit at Needmos, and these are available to agro-processors. Breadfruit flour is one of the things that we recognize has a lot of potential, and so we brought in a hammer mill to make breadfruit flour. We continue to encourage, we continue to focus on, we continue to do the work and encourage others to join, because there's vast potential. We have not at all abandoned it. We have staff at the department that go out and meet with persons who are interested in breadfruit. We propagate breadfruit at our propagation unit and offer for sale cheaply. So the work on the breadfruit continues. It may not be on radio as often because sometimes the focus changes. As I said, this year for Restaurant Week, we're focusing on pumpkin. But the work that we started on breadfruit is not at all abandoned. Now, schools officer, the extension officer per se is not assigned to the backyard. The extension officers have districts. We divide Senkis into 3. And each officer go into a district, which is basically in the farm, the farming areas proper, right? Okay, the mansion, the Stapleton, the mountain, right? But we have other officers that are assigned to schools and to backyards. So what we do, we say the officers, well, the schools are easy. You know where the schools are, and so the officer will go directly to the school. In terms of the backyard, if you've never interacted with an officer, if you have an interest, you can call the department, you can say where you are, and then we can have your officer link up with you. Because the areas have, we have officers that look, and some people know these officers. There's some backyard persons who have constant communication with the officers. Others, for one reason or another, you may not know, and if your area is not covered, then you'll be considered. We'll find someone to work with you. So the backyards are covered, schools are covered, and the extension officers is for the farm proper. Thank you.
Okay, we were talking about new and existing projects at the Department of Agriculture.
Yes, and I was telling you about the Farmer Field School as a new teaching tool. Mm-hmm. Basically, how this works is that first we got an expert. We're going to use the word experts here loosely. We got an expert. Let's take, for example, cabbages. Let's say that the Farmer Field School is in cabbages. Someone comes from...
There's someone on the line, Mr. James. Working for you, good afternoon.
Yes, just a question. I am going to assume that the Department of Agriculture is responsible for the market. If I'm wrong, well, the question won't be relevant. But
you're right. You're correct.
Okay. Recently, there has been quite some talk about construction work being done at the market and on the talk shows and that kind of thing. Persons are saying that certain external walls are being broken down and the public doesn't understand what's going on and why it's being done. So I don't know if Mr. James can explain what exactly is going on with the construction at the market. So if he does have an answer, I'll listen off here. Thank you.
Okay, caller. Thank you. The market has been in the news. Sure. The market has been a part of the local discussion, both for the construction and for the lack of use, low use, that kind of thing. So I think the question is very timely, and I'll be happy to shed some light to the general public. From time to time, there is upgrade of the market. The market needs some major overhaul in many different areas. We have to think in terms of meeting international standards, acceptability, what they call HACCP or good practices, you know. And we have to look back and see, well, in some cases, for example, you might see an open drain. You can go to the market and you can find an open drain. That is quite unacceptable in a market setting. Some of the you're going to the meat section, for example, and the overall temperature, the ambient temperature, sometimes is higher than what is ideal for an area where you're handling meat, because it must be at a certain low temperature. You don't want that the meat deteriorates too fast. So sometimes you have to replace present structures with more new and improved ones. So that is a part of the work. Again, the general infrastructural work there too. Some places are leaking, and that has to be repaired. In some cases, the electricity supply needs upgrading. So there are several things that is on the cards for the market, right? So that people will notice things happening. Perhaps, maybe, I don't know if we need to announce this on radio, but and in fact, more upgrades are planned going forward during the year 2016. We have some chills down there. We installed many chills. We have to make sure that they're working. There's some air conditions that needs to be upgraded. There's some rooms that have been in a state of disrepair. They're going to be upgraded. We're doing all of this because we want greater utility for the market. We want greater use. We're quite dissatisfied. Many of the stalls are not being used. Some persons, we see a lot of folks on the road selling, and they're selling at the expense of going into the market. And so in order we must upgrade so that we attract the persons back into the market. If we have to say to law enforcement that everyone must be in the market, then we must ensure that the market is of a certain quality, of a certain standard, that it doesn't compromise health. It doesn't compromise food safety. You don't want to bring people into a setting where maybe the food gets contaminated and so on. So there needs to be significant amounts of upgrades. So people are going to see things happening in the market. And what you're seeing now is not the end of it. More is going to happen. In fact, we need a lot of discussions on the market. I think we need more space for the market. There's one suggestion: relocate the market, move the market. Then there's another discussion that, that's an ideal spot. We shouldn't give that up. But perhaps we should get more space. So maybe we need to engage the neighbors and see whether how amenable they are to considering government purchasing some of those space and relocating them elsewhere. But the bottom line is that work will have to be done on the market so as to improve it, so as to upgrade it, considering normal international health standards, so that persons there's no incidence of contamination and illnesses by foodborne pathogens, and efficiency. You want, if for example we're contemplating air conditioning in the meat room, it must be done using such materials that you would get the greatest efficiency. So perhaps we need to inform the public a little more, but things will have to happen. Maybe what we can do is tell them so that they would know what's happening. They could see, they could understand the rationale of what's going on. But work has to be done because the market is there, and the utility, it's underutilized. And that, in fact, I noticed recently the police had blocked sales in one of the streets in Bastia. And you may eventually find some more of that kind of thing happening as we direct traffic into the market. And so we want to make sure that when we send you down there, we send you into a nice and wholesome place.
Sure.